What is going on, guys? This is Splurge, the coach of your Bracknell Beedrills, bringing you PMC Season 6, Week 2. We're playing against GarchomptheGod, aka Austin, of the Lawrence Talonflames. He took over a team pre-Week 1 even, like a champ. So the draft that we're facing was a Mega Gallade, Jirachi, Weavile, Sylveon, Entei, Haxorus. Wait, hang on, this has been changed. No, this isn't the team. So previously, he has had a Mega Medicham, I believe. Hang on, let me find where the transactions are. So he has had a Mega Gallade, a Dragonite, Jirachi, a Glaceon, Entei was there, Galvantula was there, Blastoise was there, Alolan Persian, and Palisand, I believe, was also there, although I'm not sure. It was a bit of a mismatch. But yeah, so this is what happens when I come and try and do this later than expected. Either way, Austin has now made the team properly his by making a couple of transactions. Previously it was a bit weird. It was Webb's offense again that we had to face with Mega Medicham, which is frightening, and Dragonite. And so the matchup was a bit interesting, and he kind of had a couple of things which just kind of went over the top of my team in being fast, especially under Webb's. And so I decided to try out another piece of kind of nice tech which I'm able to use on this team. Not the same effect as in TBL, which I'll be using it, I think, a bit more. But so I went for a Trick Room team this week. So I have Tentacruel running Toxic Spikes, Haze, Scald, Ice Beam with Black Sludge and Clear Body, 252 HP, 100 defense, and 156 Timid Speed. This was creeping the Dragonite, I believe, Adamant Dragonite, and had the investment to be able to take an Earthquake from either Dragonite or Donphan, I believe. So my main kind of going about this battle was that I would get up to Toxic Spikes at some point, because his team didn't really like them, and he didn't have a solid piece of removal bar Donphan. And actually, I had some things which could pressure it quite nicely this game as well. The other thing was I've always wanted to try running Hex Haunter. So Haunter is another one that I brought, running Trick Room, Hex, Energy Ball, Dazzling Gleam. The Energy Ball was for whatever his water type was at that point. I believe it was Blastoise still. And also for the Donphan. Trick Room, because I want to run Trick Room. Dazzling Gleam was to catch the Dragonites, and then Hex was... and also the Alolan Persian. And then Hex was for Toxic Spikes abuse. We were running 252 HP, 252 special attacks. I was wanting to get hits off, whilst also in vain hope trying to get up the Trick Room at some point. The third one I brought was Espeon Voyager, Magic Bounce, Lefties, Trick Room, Shadow Ball, Dazzling Gleam, and Psychic. My second Trick Room user, because there's not much point bringing a single Trick Room user unless it's Magearna or Cresselia. But yeah, we can argue about that if you take issue with what I just said. We're running 244 Timid Speed, 12 Special Attack, and 252 HP. Again, fast, bulky support. It was creeping something that was like 110 or 108 speed. I can't remember exactly. I think it may have been creeping a creeper of Terrakion. Not sure. Was it 126, 127? It could have been. That might have been a misprep, because it's like creeping something that's joint Terrakion. Either way, yeah, Trick Room, Shadow Ball, Dazzling Gleam, Psychic. It kind of does what it says on the tin. Running no recovery is a bit risky, but what you'll see is, so I got a little sidetracked in my prep from week 2 to the end of week 3, and it reflected in my battles and how I battled for both week 2 and week 3 of PMC, and also week 1 of TBL, and week 1 of BBL to some extent, but not to the same extent. But so I kind of got hamstrung for time because there's been a couple of things going on, and so I rushed my prep a bit, which is suboptimal. I think I brought it back with some of my play in week 2 and less so much in week 3. Spoiler alert, it didn't go well. But so, yeah, so I really wanted to try something different from week 1 into week 2. And so our 4th mon and our Trick Room abuser is Galissapod, running a muscle band with First Impression, Aquajet, Liquidation and Rock Slide. This set I really quite liked, with Adamant max attack, 180 HP and 76 for def. Just generally so we can take kind of the special hits a bit better, in vain hope that we might be able to live Thunderbolt or something. But so this set really does quite well versus his squad, as so if we manage to take Dragonite out of multi-scale, if he's uninvested in HP, I could get the Rock Slide to Oko, or do at least 90, I believe.
And we're back. So where were we? So Rock Slide was a roll to do at least 90 towards Oko, I believe, with Muscle Band. I just had to go sort something out, so I might be a little out of breath. Apologies. But yeah, so First Impression was there to really chunk on Mega Medicham and Alolan Persian, as I felt both were quite likely to turn up. And then, so Liquidation Aquajet is secondary stab that did quite well across the board. Oh my word. So then we come to our 5th mon in Heatran, Instant Crush. We're running a more defensive set this time round, but so it can lean into a bit of Toxic Stall if need be, and also it's our anti-Sylveon to some extent, as so it is EV to live, I believe, an HP ground. It's running Lava Plume, Roar, Protect, and Stealth Rocks. So rocks are kind of critical to this game to try and chip on Dragonite. Lava Plume is to just have some sort of attack. I wasn't sure as to whether or not Blastoise would turn up, or whatever his water type was. And so I felt that I could switch into it because I was running Glissapod and Tentacruel. Roar was there for Sylveon, and then Protect was kind of the Mega Medicham half. It's very, very, very soft check, because you never know, you might be able to catch a high jump kick. And then so finally, our final mon was Terrakion, running Choice Scarf, max speed, max attack, running Stone Edge, Iron Head, Close Combat and Earthquake. This was my if Dragonite gets out of hand, because I tried to ensure that it didn't get +2 speed. And it was also something to go over the top of Alolan Persian to catch off guard if need be. And generally, just the coverage does very well versus his team, and it's a good mon that's able to sweep relatively easily. So we get into the match, and so you've probably guessed it from the number of times I've talked about the mons whilst the squad has been changed since. So the squad that was brought against us was Alolan Persian, Mega Medicham, Dragonite, Donphan, Jirachi, and Glaceon. I was pretty certain that Alolan Persian was going to be Parting Shot, Donphan would be a spinner, Jirachi here looked like it was going to be a Scarfer, and I wasn't really sure about
exactly the kind of sets that Mega Medicham, Dragonite, and Glaceon would run. I wasn't really sure about what kind of lead he would bring. I thought that probably Donphan would lead, at which point we would have an easy situation to get Trick Room up with Espeon. But as you'll see, so I'm just starting the game now for my references so that I know what's happening when editing. So we have Alolan Persian come out, and so we lead with Espeon. This was suboptimal, but I was calking. Night Slash couldn't kill me even after Fake Out. And then I just completely forgot that... oh yeah, that was with Leftovers Recovery. That Knockoff is a move. So we lose one of our two Trick Room users there and then. And so I really had to rethink about how I was going to attack this game. So I went into Touch It Algolisopod as it is. Just click First Impression. There wasn't any need to be too interesting with how I was going to use my mons. And we actually are able to OHKO Alolan Persian, which is quite nice. It gets an issue out of the way early doors. Donphan comes in, which is an interesting choice, as he actually goes to the knockoff. So this puts us in a bit of a situation versus Dragonite, as so emergency exit is also a thing. But so we go for the liquidation here. We do a solid 60% to the Donphan, so it forces him to switch out into the Dragonite. And so here you'll see that we went for the Aqua Jet because it was a roll for liquidation plus Aqua Jet to kill. And so we've just broken the multi-scale of the Dragonite, which is really nice. So Defunk is also able to do some damage versus his Dragonite as we get emergency exited. And so we go into Defunk. So the first thing on our agenda was to get up Toxic Spikes because we were always going to outspeed. So we still had stuff that could do the damage sufficiently to Dragonite if he clicked EQ followed by E-Speed. And so we see the Earthquake come off. And so we're not killed, so I click Ice Beam just to see what happens. And so this suddenly becomes very much an issue very quickly, but for all of the reasons that I didn't expect. So this Dragonite is weakness policy. We see the boosts go up, and so he clicks Dragon Claw, killing Defunk. And so I'm now left to rely on Terracion's Stone Edge to connect, because I believe there's a roll for Iron Head to kill. And if it was a roll, then I really, really lose. And so I didn't really weigh up the possibilities. I think it was quite a tight roll, not in my favour on Iron Head. Without remembering the calcs. But so we're able to connect with Stone Edge, and so Dragonite goes down, and so Mega Medicham comes out now. I switch into Haunter because I feel as if either a high jump kick or a fake out is coming quite imminently. And so it's just an easy switch in, and so we also see that the Toxic Spikes are starting to do their work. At the point when Mega Medicham comes in for free, I realise just how much of an issue this thing is. And so I'm pretty certain he also has Zen Headbutt, so I decided to switch into Heatran just to see kind of what he goes for, because I felt like a Drain Punch or a High Jump Kick was a bit of an interesting choice versus Haunter, to say the least. And he manages to crit us with the Zen Headbutt, which is really not ideal. But so we see that this poison, even with one set of Toxic Spikes, is starting to do the work. We click Protect because I realised that at this point we're probably going to need to sack Haunter to be able to really get Terrakion in safely to be able to revenge properly. As so, I believe it was one of Earthquake or Stone, or it was Earthquake or Iron Head that was able to kill if it was guaranteed to kill if the Mega Medicham was under half. So we switch back into Haunter as he goes for the Drain Punch, and so we now decide to sack Haunter to the Zen Headbutt because at this point we're going to see that Mega Medicham is under half, so we're definitely going to guarantee the kill with Terrakion. I'd be shocked to see a Bullet Punch at this point, but I don't believe it kills, and we didn't even need to use Terrakion because Aqua Jet or First Impression was going to kill. Aquajet was a roll, and actually it was probably a better middle ground play, but it didn't kill. So we actually lose Glitterpod versus this Mega Medicham, but Poison kills the Mega Medicham. I completely forgot there that I didn't go Terrakion, so you'll just ignore me for that. And so in comes Glaceon versus Heatran. So 2 new bring-ins. And so the Glaceon gets poisoned, and so I'm kind of worried about how this Glaceon is going to get used. So we click the Lava Plume just to see what kind of damage we do, and we do around about 80, and he clicks Z, and it's an Ice Z, which is even more confusing. And so I'm perplexed to see what it does. And so it goes for the Z Hail, which, yeah. So he gets the speed boost, which is scary because if he goes for HP ground, we've got issues here. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, but Jirachi is quite scary in the back. And so the Toxic brings it back inside 20%. And so we now see Aurora Veil. And I start bricking myself. So if Jirachi is Calm Mind with like Shuka or something, then we really have lost this game. We've lost this game completely and utterly to Jirachi. There is no way of going about it. And so my initial reaction here is to try and work out what Jirachi is, if it's when it comes in. First of all, Donphan comes in though, of course. And so we go for the Protect because Lava Plume wasn't a guaranteed kill until Donphan took Hail damage and Toxic. So we take another thing of Hail ourselves, whilst Donphan takes both Hail and Toxic with no leftovers. And so now we are solidly going to outspeed, I believe, and go for the Lava Plume inside, which kills even though Aurora Veil is up. And so now we get to the interesting point. So the good news is that Aurora Veil has lost a handful of its turns. So we only need to stall out, I believe, 2 or 3 of its turns left. The bad news is we're still having to face down a darn Jirachi. And so it goes for Zen Headbutt to begin with, which fills me with hope because it means I feel as if it's going to be Scarf, whilst I'm still mildly worried for kind of, I don't know at this point whether or not it could be like mixed attacking, setting up whatever weird ass thing that it could be, because that'd be worst case scenario. But so it goes for the Zen Headbutt again, which leads me to believe that this is still Scarf, at which point, once the Aurora Veil has worn off now, we are safe to click Lava Plume, which gives us the game. I believe it's a 2-0 victory. GG Garchomp, GG Austin. This was a fun, quick, kind of like classic, just hitting each other as quick and as fast as possible. It was close, it was fun, yeah. I look forward to see how you do once you've made the transactions and see how you play with them. For week 3, we play Johnny GB and the Seattle Metal Sounders, I believe. He has a scary, scary team. And you'll see how that goes this Sunday, I believe, which will be let me quickly check the calendar, which will be the 3rd. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. I hope yourselves a very good week, rest of the week, enjoy the weekend, all of that fun and games, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!